So, you know that feeling when you are constantly cleaning, especially maybe now if the kids are home during summertime, but somehow your house still feels out of control? Yep, I have been there so many times. But what I realized is that it wasn't the mess that was the problem, it was the habits I didn't realize I was doing that were draining me. In today's video, I am cleaning the entire house, and while I do so, I am sharing the 5 things that I stopped doing that have completely shifted the way that I show up, not just in my home, but also in my mind. Productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. But welcome back to everyone in this community. And if you're new here, then we are so glad to have you. My name is Michelle. I'm a mom of 3. And in this community, we move a little bit different here. This is where real women get real about breaking cycles, reclaiming their energy, and stepping into the most boldest, grounded versions of themselves. I truly believe that inner transformation doesn't always come in these big, dramatic moments like we expect. Sometimes they show up quietly, like when we are standing in front of our dishwasher, putting all of our dishes away. I remember a couple of years ago, I was working full time, going into the office, picking up our 2 small children at the time, which were 6 months old and almost 2 years old. Chris, my husband, was working nights, and I came home and I was so exhausted. And I just remember feeling so guilty because there were dishes in the sink, the house was a mess, and I had no energy to move. But I remember putting the kids to bed and then forcing myself to do all of the dishes in the sink. Because, that's what quote unquote good moms do. Make sure the house is picked up before everyone gets up in the morning. And I remember doing it, resenting it, and then had this realization, while I was scrubbing each dish, was why do I put so much dang pressure on myself to get it all done, to have everything perfect? And then if it wasn't, I would throw out the A word. You know what word that is? It's so common among moms, and I actually heard one of my friends say this the other day. It's, if I don't have the dishes done at night, then I will just have so much anxiety. And then one day I realized, why do I even say that? Do I really have that much anxiety if I'm too tired to do the dishes at night? Or is there some other underlying issue behind that? And for me, once I uncovered it, it was I just feel like a loser if I don't have the dishes, or I feel like I didn't do my job well enough, or I wasn't perfect enough if it wasn't done. And I come to find out that I actually enjoy doing them in the morning. I'm in such a better mood. I have so much energy. I'm excited to start my day. And then I can kind of get into this kind of routine to where I get it done in the morning. That's my first accomplishment of the day. And then I'm ready to tackle the day. I'm going to make an assumption that the majority of people like getting them done at night, right? There's lots of benefits. You can wake up and you can just start your day. You don't have tasks to do in the morning. But I realized for me that doesn't work, and there's no right or wrong reason, but that's the moment when I started challenging a lot of the beliefs I had around what makes me more productive. When I started changing some of those beliefs, then it helped me change some of the habits. And it's not habits that I started doing more of, because that's what I didn't need, was to start doing more and more and more and more of stuff. I have enough to do, as we all. But it's the things that I actually stopped doing. I will start sharing those habits in a minute, but I do want to ask, do you do your dishes at night or in the morning or throughout the day? Are there ever dishes in your sink? I don't know. Now I'm curious. I said that I assume most people do them at night, but leave me a comment to let me know.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
I want to ask y'all a question real quick. What is the first thing you do when you wake up? So your alarm's going off, you open your eyes, you may, turn the alarm off or press the snooze button, and then what is the next thing you do? Hold that thought. I'm going to circle back around. All right, so several years ago, maybe about 3-ish years ago, I took this course from Mel Robbins called the $1 Million Morning. I think that's what it was called. The Millionaire Morning or the $1 Million Morning, something like that. If you're not familiar with Mel Robbins, she is now, super famous for the Let Them theory. She wrote the book called Let Them. And, but before that, she was also pretty famous. She had a few other pretty popular books out, which I would listen to her podcast all the time. But within that course of hers, I had this big epiphany moment. So it started with that question was, what is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? And when I think about it, I think, okay, I wake up, I get out of bed, I brush my teeth, go to the bathroom, start getting dressed, and then, and then I'm going on and on and on. But the next morning, I actually thought about it. So I woke up, I turned my alarm off, and then I turned on my phone. And I just started checking my emails. And then I started, getting on Instagram. And then I'm like, oh crap, I got to get up and go brush my teeth. And I was like, you know what? The first thing I do in the morning is get on my phone. So I realized, and within her course, she said, the one thing you should not do in the morning is check your phone. And the reason for this is that when you check your phone, you start already increasing your cortisol levels. You start already getting, bombarded with emails of all the things that you have to do. You're wasting time scrolling or trying to read text messages and respond and have these conversations. And you're already creating this stressful to-do list and you haven't even gotten out of bed yet. Or you're already comparing yourself to everyone on social media, or you're just wasting time procrastinating. And that was so me every single day. Also, the first 5 to 30 minutes after you wake up, your brain is in a state which is called theta state. Now, the benefits of your brain being in theta state is that you have better learning and memory, so you can absorb and integrate new information. You can have more clarity. This is where all your different ideas may come. You may get inspired to do something, motivated to do something. You have increased serotonin and endorphins, which help regulate your mood, and you have lower cortisol levels. But the second your brain is stimulated, such as looking directly at your phone, then your brain switches from theta directly to delta state. Jim Kwik does a lot of information on the different brainwave states, if you're interested in looking more into it. But this is when you are fully awake, you're fully alert, and you're focused on tasks. Some people also call this is when you're on autopilot. You're just moving through your day, doing your day-to-day stuff. Sometimes maybe overthinking a bit like I do. But I realize that time is so crucial in the mornings. So I decided to stop checking my phone in the morning. At one point, I didn't even have my phone in my room when I had an alarm clock. But now I use my phone back as my alarm clock. But I do not open or check my phone until I'm already in the car on my way to drop the kids off. So I'm going like almost an hour in the morning doing my full routine before I even bother to look at my phone. So I want to challenge you tomorrow, when you wake up, if the first thing you do is kind of check your phone, even if you're just like checking your email real quick or doing something quick, I challenge you to tell yourself not to look on your phone until you're already like in the car on your way to whatever work, dropping off the kids, or whatever it is that you are doing for the day. Now, the second habit that I stopped doing in order for me to feel more productive, and this one may seem a little bit controversial, especially in the cleaning community, is that I don't create these big to-do lists. I don't create to-do lists. So I was always taught, though, that you need to write down everything that you need to do. And, as you get the things done, you check it off and it works. It's beneficial because, you don't have to keep everything in your head. You just, brain dump it on a piece of paper, and then you look at the piece of paper, and then as you cross them off, you feel so accomplished. And that works for so many people. And I would do it, and I would look at this list, and I'm like, this list is a bunch of BS. There's so much stuff on the list that none of this is actually doing anything for me. And in fact, it was actually procrastinating me from doing the things that I really need to do, because I would just write down, okay, I need to scrub the toilets. I need to, clean the refrigerator out. I need to, scrub the bathtub. Or, plan this and that. And then I would do all of that instead of doing like what I really needed to do. All of the really hard things like declutter my house, organize my closet, go in the garage and start organizing the garage. There's so many other tasks that I did probably need to do, but I would write down all these other tasks that were, yes, the things were getting done, but they weren't really helping me reach any type of goal. The truth is that your to-do lists never end. You're always, always, always going to have hundreds of tasks that you need to do. The problem is when you're using your to-do list to procrastinate on the things that you really should be doing in order to help you move towards your goals. So one thing that I started doing was creating a priority list. A priority list are the 1 to 3 things that you need to do that day that will move you towards your goals. So if your goal is to lose weight, then what is the 1 to 2 things that are going to be a priority that you need to do that are going to get you towards that goal? Not cleaning the toilet, right? That probably may need to get done, but you need to make sure you prioritize your workout before you do that. In order for me to stay consistent with video posting, I need to prioritize my voiceovers. Like today, that is my one priority, is I have to finish today's voiceover before I do anything else. So yes, my dishes are still in the sink and my toilets still need to be scrubbed, but this voiceover is going to get done because this is the top priority before I do anything else. Now, if you do like to-do list, I'm not against a to-do list, but when it's starting to get used as a way to procrastinate what you should do, that's when I think that the priority list comes in handy. Another tool that you can use is to write down all of the things you have to do today and then circle the top 3 and make sure that those top 3s are things that are going to move you toward a goal that you have. If you like to-do lists, but you also find that sometimes like looking at 300 things, I hope 300 things are not on your to-do list, but let's just say you have like 15 things that you need to do that day, then what you can do is write down 3 at a time. So if you need to, you write down 3, you cross those things out, and then you write down 3 more, and then you cross those things out. And then that will help you kind of like say, okay, well, I did get my 3 priorities done and now I have time for more. Or you can say, okay, that was my main focus for the day. Tomorrow I'll focus on these 3. So that was my second habit that I stopped doing, was creating these massive to-do lists that were ultimately procrastinating me with tons of tasks opposed to actually making progress in my life. So I want you to think about your top 1 to 3 priorities for today and start working on them.
Right now I'm standing in a corner. I see you from across the room. It's kinda crowded here, but I know you see me too. Everybody's singing, oh, everybody's singing, oh. I don't know what it is about you. It must be in the way you move. Just say you want me to. We got nothing to lose. You're looking so old. You're looking so old. Now I'm moving closer to you.
So I'm going to assume that a lot of people in this community are like millennials or maybe even older. And if you are, do you remember back in the day when we had landline phones and the only way that anyone can get a hold of you was if they called your landline? I remember I was telling Chris this story the other day that it was probably the second time I traveled alone. I went to Florida on this trip and my parents couldn't come. So I got on the plane and I got to Florida. I got to Orlando and I walked out and nobody was there to pick me up. There was supposed to be someone holding a sign. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had to go to a payphone. I had to then dial 1-800-COLLECT. I don't remember the number, but it was like you had to make a collect call. And I was like, and I called and I was like, my mom answered the phone and he goes, what if your mom wasn't home? I was like, I don't even know if my mom wasn't home, but I had to call her and be like, hey, nobody's here to pick me up at the airport. And, I had to like go down the elevator or something. And then they were on the other floor. But do you guys remember the days when we were not 100% accessible to every single person basically on the planet? If someone wanted to get a hold of us, they couldn't just text us on the landline. They had to call the phone. And then if we weren't there, they had to leave a message and they had to wait until we responded. And we didn't have to give all these excuses about why we didn't respond. It was like we weren't by the phone, okay? We didn't hear the phone. Obviously, we maybe not have been home, You leave a message, and then when I get by my phone and I listen to my voicemail, then I will give you a call back and respond. Now we're in this world where it is thankful we have cell phones and we can easily communicate with everyone. And that is a gift, but it's not to be abused. Where in the world did we make ourselves accessible to everyone 100% of the time? I read the book, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and I am going to go back and actually quote from his book because this stuck with me for years after I read it. And he says, just because someone has access to you doesn't mean they have the right to interrupt you. I realized that throughout the day, if I'm like doing this voiceover, I have to be concentrating and talking. And when my phone is pinging back and forth from emails, text messages, Snapchats, group text messages that have nothing to do with me, all of these distractions, I can get nothing done. So the third habit is that I started turning my phone on silent. I do not get notified for anything. And if it is an emergency, somebody will actually pick up the phone and call me. But I even have settings like if I don't know the number, it's not going to ring. So it has to be a number that knows me. Text messages, all other things are silenced until it's my time to respond to them. I'm known for from my friends for not responding to text messages. Like I'll respond hours later. And I'm like, you guys, I need boundaries. I need time to get work done without all of these group messages and emails and chats and things going off 100% of the time. So I think that my friends have grown a respect that I'm going to respond when I'm like sitting down, concentrating and spending my time doing that. Now, there are so many what ifs. So what if somebody needs something right away? I can kind of see stuff on my watch, but if I know that it can wait, then I will make it wait. I don't want to start in a text message conversation about dinner, when I don't need to do that at that moment. So purpose is silencing all notifications minus phone calls, in case of emergencies until all of my priorities are done. It's not just about putting your phone away and not scrolling. It's about like not getting notified. It's like, yeah, I can sit there and not scroll on my phone, but when I start getting notified and notifications and text messages, that's almost like an instinct to pick up my phone, be accessible, respond, disrupt my day, or disrupts the tasks that I'm doing. And then it causes me a moment where I need to like, now I got to refocus again. And when those disruptions are happening throughout your day, it is so hard to actually get your priorities done. So the next habit, the fourth habit that I stopped doing was creating these rigorous routines. So I do admit that I am a recovering control freak, and I do think that there is a time, place, and even season where a rigid routine is necessary, but sometimes having your day mapped out to the exact minute and hour can be a form of control. Needing to control every single thing. And when it comes to a point like it did in my life where I needed to control every second of my day, when something didn't go as planned, it was like, oh my gosh, the world is going to end. It also can create exhaustion, even when you're feeling productive, and you can get trapped into this loop of doing, constantly needing to be doing something every second of the day. You fall into this autopilot mode where you're just reliving the same day over and over and over again. I decided that I am going to stop doing these rigorous routines, and instead I'm going to prioritize my tasks and then fit them in my day. Now, do I have a routine where I wake up in the morning and brush my teeth? Yes, that I would say that's more of a habit than a actual full-on routine. I do, for example, if I know that one of my priorities is to work out, I will have workout on my list to do, or on my priority list, but I don't necessarily have to do it like at 7 a.m. Maybe one day I do it at 7 a.m. and then the next day I do it at 12 p.m. So it's like I'm going to fit it within my day, but I'm not going to be so, rigorous about the time I do it. So I challenge you to question if your routine feels so disassociated with you and it feels like you are just living on autopilot and you feel like there's no spark or joy in your day, then I question you to challenge your routine or maybe even be a little bit more flexible with it. And the last thing that I stopped doing in order to be more productive was I stopped complaining about everything. So last week, I got that wonderful letter in the mail that summoned me in for jury duty, everyone's favorite thing. And then I got my bill for my kids' tuition and it was wrong. And then I got a call from my home insurance company saying that they're about to cancel my home insurance because my mortgage company didn't pay the insurance. And then on Saturday, we finally were like, we're going to have a great day. We went to the water park and my debit card got stolen out of my bag. So you can say that I did have a little bit of, something to complain about. It was like every day, one thing after another, every single day. And I really challenged myself to take it one breath at a time. Like every time something came in, I'm like, I am not going to sit here and cry and complain about it. I am actually going to look at why this may have happened in a positive way. So when my debit card got stolen, immediately I was so ticked off. But then I started going through it and I'm like, gosh, I have all of these subscriptions that I'm subscribed to and making monthly payments to. Thankfully, I can like really just go through, cut everything out and start from new, which was just a positive. For school, I was able to easily get a hold of someone and get everything sorted out. For homeowners insurance, I called and they had messed up something in their system, but I was actually like talking to her about taxes and she gave me so much insightful information on just some other random stuff. And for jury duty, I'm just gonna have to figure that one out. But really challenging myself to not complain and just realize there may be a purpose in all of this that is actually going to help me if I just kind of change the way that I think about it. But the first step is becoming aware. There's a famous quote from Maya Angelou that says, if you don't like something, then change it. If you can't change it, then change your attitude. So I challenge you, and as I end this video and all of the cleaning, look how much we got done today, guys. I challenge you to change your attitude about a situation that you might not be able to change. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope that you got some helpful tips. If you like motivational content, you're in the right place, and I will see you guys next week.